Joe Biden held an event over the weekend where John Kerry defended him on his vote for the Iraq War. And the argument went something like this. Yes, Biden voted for the Iraq War, but he didn't really vote for it because he just gave Bush the option to go into war. He didn't know Bush would actually do it. That's the argument. I'm not kidding. That's the argument. Sure, he voted for it, but it doesn't really count as a vote for it because he thought he was just giving Bush the option. He didn't know Bush would actually go. This is how weaselly they're getting. And as people on Twitter pointed out, effectively that argument is, oh, no, we're not war criminals. We're just idiots who were duped. So here, let's go to the tape and see what Kerry is saying versus what Biden was saying at the time.
Because Joe Biden, like a lot of people who voted that period of time, did not actually vote for the war.
And I will vote for the Lieberman-Warner amendment to authorize the use of military force against Iraq. President Bush is right to be concerned about Saddam Hussein's relentless pursuit of weapons of mass destruction and the possibility that he may use them or share them with terrorists. Other countries have or seek weapons of mass destruction. Saddam has actually used them against his neighbors, against his own people. Contrary to what some in my party might think, Iraq was a problem that had to be dealt with sooner rather than later. So I commend the president. And the combination of Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction is dangerous, destabilizing, and deadly. Ultimately, either those weapons must be dislodged from Iraq or Saddam must be dislodged from power. For me, the issue is never whether we had to deal with Saddam, but when and how we dealt with Saddam.
There you have it. You know, there's something that's extra messed up about not just owning your record. Just own it. Just own it. Yeah, I did it. I did it, and I was wrong, and here's why I made the decision, but ultimately it turned out being the bad thing. But that's not what he's doing. He's going with, yeah, I voted for it, but it doesn't count because of reasons X, Y, and Z. That is so weaselly and so disingenuous. And let me tell you something. If this is any indicator, and it is, Trump is going to eat this guy's lunch, dude. Trump is going to eat this guy's lunch because half the time he's incoherent and the other half the time he's not incoherent. He's just making terrible points. So, come on. I mean, it's embarrassing at this point. Now, I also want to add this fact, because this is a segment we did a while ago when it came to Hillary as well in the 2016 election. What they're not telling you is there was actually a third option on the war. So one of the options was what Hillary did and what Biden did, where they said, I'm voting for the authorization for use of military force. That's the decision they made, and they have to own that. The middle path was, you could vote for the war, but only if the UN also approves it. Now, if you had taken that middle path, if enough people had taken that middle path, then we wouldn't have gone to war because the UN didn't approve it. The UN said this is an illegal war. So anybody who took that middle path, that was, even though it was a semi-vote for the war, it effectively would have been a vote against the war because the UN said no. Joe Biden, just like Hillary Clinton, did not take that middle path. Joe Biden took the pro-war path, and now he's not owning it, and he's being incredibly weaselly. And the reason he's doing this is because Bernie Sanders has repeatedly hit Biden over and over. He voted for the Iraq War. 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 And his response at this point has been... So now, this is what he finally settled on as an official response, and it's embarrassing. Bringing out, it's basically the equivalent of like, let me bring out my cousin or bring out my brother to like try to explain away where I messed up. And you sit there and you act like this is reasonable. He knows he's wrong, but he doesn't care because he's just trying to get elected.